Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? Welcome to the Daily Faded. I am Hetz, and this is where we get faded and we talk about politics and news. So the first order of business is toke up if you are, maybe if you're having a drink, glass of milk, pint of ice cream, whatever it is. AOC is winning her primary with 72.8% of the vote. Yes, we're back to primaries. Yes, I'm coughing because I'm smoking. So anyway, we're back to primaries. It's another primary Tuesday night in New York, Virginia, and Kentucky. And I think the whole thing is a fucking disaster, even though there's a couple of people winning that I'm very happy about. So it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of a situation with the elections today. But the first thing I need to tell you is that I am smoking shake and detritus in my pipe tonight. You know, you reach a point where you got this bottle and you got that bottle and you got this envelope and it's, and at some point you got to finish it. So I probably got 3 different strains here, more than one stem probably. So it's really all shake and detritus. That's going to be the name of my autobiography, Shake and Detritus. Or is it detritus? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't really care. Hold on one second. Also going to talk about a couple of old articles tonight that I didn't get a chance to talk about last week because of my back, which still hurts. But I've scheduled my shoulder surgery for a month from today, so I'm very excited about that. Maybe I can get some of the pain out of my shoulder. My back is much better thanks to the procedure I had last Wednesday, but I'm not 100% better, and I'm still dealing with chronic pain. So, but it doesn't hurt as much just to sit here and do this, so that's a good thing. Anyway, as big a story as tonight's primary elections are, they are eclipsed by the bigger story, which is COVID-19. As of around 6 or 7 o'clock tonight, the world has over 9.3 million positive COVID-19 cases. 479,777 reported deaths worldwide. In the United States, we have 2,424,168 confirmed cases, with 123,473 deaths. And that number is low because there are a lot of people who died of COVID-19 who are not being counted for a variety of reasons. In California, we're having a problem. It's going up in California. Cases are going up, and they're going up in the LA area where I live. California has 190,598 cases, and we so far have had 5,633 Californians lose their lives to COVID-19, each and every one of them a person, a whole person, someone to remember, a father, a mother, a brother, a son, a daughter, a niece, a nephew, an aunt, etc. You get the idea. A stoner. I don't know why I threw that in there. That was totally inappropriate. I take it back. I apologize. It's a good thing only 3 people are watching. But you 3, you're the best. Thank you for being here. No, but seriously, I do want to talk about I do want to talk about COVID-19 a little bit because just the difference between this morning's articles and this evening's articles was pretty amazing. So Reuters this morning, the United States saw a 25% increase in new cases of COVID-19 in the week ended June 21st compared to the previous 7 days, with Arizona, Florida, and Texas experiencing record surges in new infections, a Reuters analysis found. 25 U.S. states reported more new cases last week than the previous week, including 10 states that saw weekly new infections rise more than 50%, and 12 states that saw weekly new infections rise that posted new records, according to the analysis of data from the COVID Tracking Project, a volunteer-run effort to track the outbreak. Texas reported one of the largest rises in new cases at 24,000 for the week ended June 21st, an increase of 84% from the previous week. The number of COVID-19 tests that came back positive in the state rose to 10% from 7%. So all of the numbers are going in the wrong direction in Texas. All of them. Texas is very bad. New cases in Florida rose 87,000 last week to almost 22. Y'all, I'm glad it's you. I love you so much. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Let me read that again, because I definitely read that wrong. New cases in Florida. I should be wearing my glasses, right? What I figured out is that everything here is the perfect distance for me to look at it. See, when I wear my glasses, I have to go like this to read, and then like this, and then this part is hazy, foggy, blurry, whatever. So I don't actually need to wear my glasses, which is weird because normally I have my glasses on. Sorry, gnats. Downside to, okay, let's face it, it's been a long day, and I had to take my car to the shop, and my kids drove me crazy. I love them, but they did drive me a little crazy today. And my back still hurts, and that's pissing me off. So, I don't know, TMI, too much? Is that more than you wanted to know? Hold on. As I was saying, from Reuters, new cases in Florida rose 87% last week to almost 22,000, with the state's positive test rate nearly doubling to 11%. Ours is around 6% in California. Arizona reported 17,000 new cases, a 90% increase, with 20% of tests coming back positive, according to the analysis. 1 out of 5 tests coming back positive. So that was this morning. Washington Post this evening. 7 states are reporting new highs for current coronavirus hospitalizations, according to data tracked by the Washington Post. Arizona, Arkansas, California, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, as the number of infections continues to climb across the South and West. More than 800 COVID-19 deaths were reported in the U.S. on Tuesday, the first time fatalities have increased since June 7th. So we've been watching cases rise in different parts of the country, as it seems like only New York really has it under control. And even the states that have plateaued, they keep going. They don't, not lowering. Only New York has been lowering its number of cases. So we've been talking about this increase in cases for a while. And you know what would be awesome is if I had a producer and I had a thing in my ear, and whenever I forgot what I was talking about, they could tell me, oh, you were talking about Lyndon B. Johnson. Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson. That's right. Deaths are a lagging indicator. So what comes first is the surge in cases, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, the surge in deaths. So our deaths had gone down, I think, yesterday or the day before. It was like 350. I mean, that's still too many, but it was better than, you know, when we were consistently over 2,000. More than 800 COVID-19 deaths were reported in the U.S. on Tuesday. That's amazing. Texas and California on Tuesday eclipsed 5,000 new cases of the novel coronavirus over a 24-hour span, records in those states. So we had a record day in California. Arizona, Nevada, and Missouri also logged a new single-day highs. Overall, 33 states and U.S. territories now have a rolling average of new cases that is higher than last week. Do you remember last week when we were talking about 20 states are increasing in cases? 23 states are increasing in cases. Overall, 33 states and U.S. territories now have had a rolling average of new cases that is higher than last week. Just because they've stopped doing coronavirus task force daily press briefings, just because Trump has stopped talking about coronavirus and just wants to talk about fucking Antifa and flag burning, just because the CDC has been silenced and is not allowed to talk to the press about what's going on with the pandemic, doesn't mean it's going away. It's not going away. This first wave is not over, and God knows what the second wave is going to bring. I'm deeply concerned for the 6,200 people. There's only 6,200 of them, but I'm deeply concerned for them who were at Trump's Tulsa rally. By the way, I saw something today that I hadn't seen before, which was they arrested a woman who had a ticket to the rally and wanted to attend the rally, and she was wearing a t-shirt that says, "I can't breathe," and they fucking arrested her. Meanwhile, in front of the stadium or theater or whatever the fuck it was, there was a guy without a shirt on cracking a bullwhip. Now, in today's political environment, cracking a bullwhip? Are you fucking kidding me? That's not a threat. That guy's not menacing people, cracking a bullwhip. Not to mention, well, the violence implied of cracking a whip, but that's literally second to the symbolic issue of someone cracking a whip in front of a Trump rally. So the peaceful person who has a t-shirt that they don't like gets arrested for no reason. And lunatic cracking whips. I think these people mean to bring slavery back. I really do. I think they've decided all of the ways in which we've allowed the institution of slavery to continue on and on into the new Jim Crow, etc. I don't know. I think they just want old-fashioned slavery back. So, So please continue to practice social distancing, wear masks, and stay home. It is really getting tempting to go out there now and to do a lot of stuff. You know what I did? The first thing I did when the stores opened was went to Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm a fucking socialist who goes to Bed Bath and Beyond. That is me. The contradictions in life. I love it. But the first thing I did was go to Bed Bath and Beyond to get bubbles for our soda stream, which, by the way, they moved all of their production facilities out of the occupied territories. So it's okay to buy soda stream. Unless you're into the BDL of everything Israeli, and then it's not okay to buy it. But I forgot what I was saying again. I do know that I'm talking about the primary elections today in New York, Virginia, and Kentucky. Christ, there was one other thing. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot what I wanted to say. Primary elections, this show is going swimmingly, isn't it? Isn't this like one of the best shows ever? I wasn't really stoned beforehand. I seem to, the twigs and detritus that I'm smoking is clearly having an effect. So we got bad democracy going on in the United States today. There are long lines everywhere. I mean, that truth be told, I have not heard about long lines in Virginia, but I have heard and seen pictures of long lines in Kentucky and New York. There's a video that's gone viral of voters demanding to be let in when they closed the door and they were still standing in line outside and around the block, and they were demanding to be let in, and they were eventually let in. Actually, I think that was in New York, that video. I'm not sure. But I did see that they were let in eventually. And then we have this Kentucky crisis. This is a real crisis for democracy, to go from 37,000 polling places to 170 polling places. People have been saying 200, but it's 170. And one for the entire county that includes Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know the name of the county, but one for the entire county of 616 or 616,000 people. One polling place. How the fuck do 616,000 people vote at one polling place? I'm not a math wizard of some sort, but the number of voters you'd have to get through per minute, you know, it's not what the fuck is going on? Like, the people who are running the state of Kentucky, like, I know it's all Republican voter suppression. I understand that. I get that. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why I'm saying democracy is a sham in this fucking country, because of voter suppression and several other things that really hamper our democracy. My back is starting to hurt now. See, it's just, I last a little longer than before. But these people are doing, they go to such outrageous lengths. The idea that you would have one polling place for 616,000 people. I love that there are 4 people watching the stream. Please hit like. Please. One polling place for 616,000 people is an obscenity. It is an obscenity. And I hope there are lawsuits. I hope there are a lot of lawsuits, because the state of Kentucky should be ashamed of itself. And I don't know what's going on. They have a Democratic governor that everybody loves. I mean, when I say everybody, I mean like all of the mainstream Democrats love Andy Beshear. But the Trillbilly Workers Party don't trust him, so I don't trust him. Plug for Trillbilly Workers Party, one of the best podcasts out there. Anyway, Andy Bashir, doesn't he? Do they have a Republican? I should have looked this up. Do they have a Republican Secretary of State? I don't know. It's mind-boggling, and it's so brazen, you know. And I think it's going to have profound consequences. Plus, we're voting in a pandemic. We're voting in the age of COVID-19. That is voter suppression. You're saying, hey, you, risk your motherfucking life and go out and vote. Because voting is, you got to do it. It's your constitutional duty. But I'm overweight. And I have high blood pressure. That puts me in a high risk category for COVID-19. I don't want to go vote and die for it. I don't want to have to choose between living or dying and voting. Come on, give me a break. Now, luckily, I live in Los Angeles, where I actually think we do a very good job of enfranchising people, especially with our county-wide voting that we have now, where you can go to any polling place in the county, and there are lots of them. And you can vote for, I don't know, 2 weeks in advance. Anyway, but what they've done in Kentucky is terrible, and it's going to have a very particular effect. This Louisville issue, this one polling place for Louisville issue. AOC won her primary in New York City tonight. She won 69% of the vote. So she will be returning to the House since a Republican cannot win that district. But again, elections in New York are a fucking mess. They have 2 ballots. They've got like the federal ballot and the state ballot, and you have to ask for both ballots. You have to ask for both ballots. Spoken like a stoner. So New York has terrible voting laws. Until this year, you had to vote. You had to register to vote 6 months in advance. That's ridiculous. Thank God they got that. Somehow they got that defeated. But there is some good news. Jamal Bowman has beat Eliot Engel in New York. I think that's in the 14th district, very close to AOC, which is the 16th. This is fantastic news. In a number of ways. Jamal Bowman is a Justice Democrat, so that's 8 Justice Democrats we got in the House, plus Marie Newman, who beat Dan Lipinski, the pro-life or anti-choice candidate. Dan Lipinski, who was supported by Nancy Pelosi, got his ass handed to him by Marie Newman. That's a Democratic district. She's going. That's 9 Justice Democrats. And we got one more coming up when Massachusetts has its primary, and Alex Morse is up against Richard Neal in Massachusetts. I'm going to get back to Eliot Engel in 1 second. If Alex Morse can beat Richard Neal, that would be so awesome, because he's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and that is a very important job. A lot of sway in Congress if you're chair of the Ways and Means Committee, because everything goes through Ways and Means. And that dickhead was given like Trump's head on a platter, and he wouldn't take it. New York passed a law making it legal to hand over the president's tax returns, or at least his New York state tax returns. All that needed to happen was a request from the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Democrats take the House in January 2019. What does Richard Neal do? He sits on his fucking hands. For a year and a half, he has done nothing. He could have gotten Trump's tax returns a year and a half ago, before they impeached him. So that guy's got to go. Fuck him. Alex Morse. Go to justicedemocrats.com, please. Find Alex Morse's page, or go to Alex Morse for Congress. Please give Alex Morse $5, because we have got to get rid of Richard Neal. He's terrible. Getting back to Jamal Bowman crushing Eliot Engel, 62% of the vote last I saw. I was watching live right before I came on. He was at 62% of the vote with, I don't know, over 50% reporting. So it's very unlikely. It was 50 to 38, I think. Interestingly enough, those are the same numbers that Fox had Trump in his poll today. A Fox News poll came out showing Biden at 50 and Trump at 38. Fox News showing Biden ahead 12 points. I'm a stoner. I went off a little bit. Getting back to Eliot Engel. We want to get rid of Eliot Engel because he is a douchebag. On like social issues and stuff like that, he's like, fine, whatever. But he's the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and he is an Israel hawk. He is all about gunning down Palestinian children. He has no problem with it whatsoever. He had no problem with Israel bombing hospitals in Gaza in 2014. He had no problem with it. He is the anti-Palestine candidate, or incumbent, or should I say former representative from the great state of New York. So I support the rights of the Palestinian people. I support the rights of the Israeli people, but I do not support the right-wing government of Israel, which slaughters Palestinians and is doing a slow motion genocide against them. So getting rid of Eliot Engel is just perfect. Now, Jamal Bowman doesn't become the new chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, unfortunately, because he is pro-Palestine. One of the things that was really interesting in the reporting about the Jamal Bowman race is that there's a large Jewish constituency in that district. And one of the things that Eliot Engel always ran on was being such a pro-Israel candidate. And that worked for him for years. And there were interviews with people saying, yeah, I'm pretty strong on Israel, but I agree with Jamal Bowman on everything else. So everything else is kind of more important to me. So that's fantastic. So I'm very excited about that. That would mean if Alex Morse wins, that would give us 10 Justice Democrats in the House of Representatives. 3 more big, loud voices for the progressive cause. That would be fantastic. And then 2022, 2024, we keep adding, we keep piling on, and we keep getting rid of these guys like fucking Dan, whatever, I can't remember his name now, the guy that AOC beat, Crowley, Joe Crowley, not Dan, Joe Crowley, excuse me, Eliot Engel, Richard Neal. We got to get rid of these guys. 2022, we got to beat Henry Cuellar, Trump's favorite Democrat. Jessica Cisneros in Texas has to beat Henry Cuellar. That'll get us to 11. And she came very, very close this year to beating Henry Cuellar. But she'll have all that much more name recognition and all that much more time to campaign and point out what a Republican Henry Cuellar is. So there's a good chance she can win, and that's a heavily Democratic district. There's a good chance Jessica Cisneros could become the 11th Justice Democrat. And then you start having an effect where, and I want to reference Cenk Uygur on this because he talks about this all the time, and he was one of the co-founders of Justice Democrats. You don't have to get 150 Justice Democrats into the House. But when you start getting 8, 9, 10, 11, when you're knocking people off like Joe Crowley, the number 4 Democrat in the House at the time, Eliot Engel, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Richard Neal, chairman of Ways and Means, you start knocking off these important Democratic leadership, you're putting a target on the centrist Democrats. And you're telling them, we can take you out. We can do it. We can beat you. You can outspend us 10-1, and we can beat you because people like our ideas better than your nonsense incrementalism, you know? So we can do this. We can do this. Maybe we can't get a progressive into the White House in 2020, but who knows about 2024, 2028? Who knows? We'll see. Good God. I have terrible nightmares about Joe Biden having a terrible first term and then losing to Sean Hannity or Dan Crenshaw. Terrible nightmares. Oh my God. Anyway, I had 2 other stories that I wanted to talk about tonight, but I'm not going to talk about them. Maybe I'll get to them tomorrow night. But there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about. So I've been doing just a little bit of online reading on some SCOTUS cases, and in particular, looking at the Bill of Rights. I'm intrigued with this question of whether or not an American citizen has the right to live in a state. Because, as you know, we have many American citizens who do not live in a state. DC, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, Guam, and Northern Mariana Islands, and, of course, American Virgin Islands. So I've been reading several amendments trying to make a case for that, because I think it's ridiculous that we still have colonies in this country. And Puerto Rico is a colony, have no doubt about it. Guam, American Samoa, colonies. American Virgin Islands, colonies. I don't know much about the Northern Mariana Islands. I don't know how many people live there. But still. Anyway, so I've been reading about the 10th Amendment, right? And the 10th Amendment is the amendment that guarantees states' rights to... I have on my iPhone the Constitution. So anytime I'm thinking about a constitutional question, I just go to my Constitution. Can you read that? Or is it just all glowy? See that? Look at that. And I'm going to read you the 10th Amendment real quick here. This is exciting viewing, watching a stoned person read the 10th Amendment. I'm sure that you're thrilled to be here, and I'm really happy you are here. Okay, the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution: the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. I'm going to read it again. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. And so I was reading about the 10th Amendment because of my crazy idea that everyone should be in a state. And I started reading some cases just on Wikipedia because what do I look like? Do I look like I have Lexus at home? LexisNexis, whatever that's called. I used to know what it was called back in the days when I was smart. So here's one case. In New York v. United States, 1992, the Supreme Court invalidated a portion of a federal law for violating the 10th Amendment. The case challenged a portion of the Low Level Radioactive Waste Policy Amendments Act of 1985. The act provided three incentives for states to comply with statutory obligations to provide for the disposal of low level radioactive waste. The first two incentives were monetary. The third, which was challenged in the case, obliged states to take title to any waste within their borders that was not disposed of prior to January 1st, 1996, and made each state liable for all damages directly related to the waste. The court ruled that the imposition of that obligation on the states violated the 10th Amendment. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor wrote that the federal government can encourage the states to adopt certain regulations through the spending powers, e.g., by attaching conditions to the receipt of federal funds, or through the commerce power by directly preempting state law. However, and this is the important part, Congress cannot directly compel states to enforce federal regulations. So I go, well, that's really interesting. Congress cannot directly compel states to enforce federal regulations. I never realized, maybe everyone knew this except for me. I feel like maybe I'm the last one catching on because, I smoke a little bit. Hold on one sec. That was a little micro hit. And I forgot what I was talking about. So, but maybe everyone else has already figured out that the 10th Amendment, they're never going to be able to do anything about sanctuary cities. I'm a big supporter of sanctuary cities. Crime goes down in sanctuary cities when all of the citizenry, all of the residents, let's call them, because some people don't want to call them citizens, and maybe that's linguistically correct, but all of the residents can actually talk to the law enforcement agencies, crimes get solved more. When undocumented Americans are afraid to talk to the police because they're afraid they're going to get deported, crimes don't get solved. The emergency of the 911 doesn't get called when someone's having a heart attack. Terrible things happen because of states that do the ICE's job for them. So now, interestingly enough, so that's Sandra Day O'Connor, a conservative. And I would probably, if it was 1992 and I was reading an article about that case, I would probably be upset by that because I would say, yeah, the federal government can do that. That said, when I read this, I actually think that it sounds like it was probably a correct decision, because that's kind of ridiculous saying, okay, any prior nuclear waste that you had here, you're responsible and liable for all of it. Well, hold on. If we're doing a national effort to clean up radioactive waste, couldn't maybe the national government be on it instead of localities? Anyway, so this is followed up by Prince versus the United States, 1997. The court ruled that part of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act violated the 10th Amendment. The act required state and local law enforcement officials to conduct background checks on people attempting to purchase handguns. Justice Antonin Scalia, everyone's favorite party guy, right? Writing for the majority, applied New York versus United States, the case we were just talking about, to show that the act violated the 10th Amendment, since the act forced participation of the state's executive in the actual administration of a federal program. It was unconstitutional. That means the city of Los Angeles does not need to turn people over to ICE. They don't need to do it. The state of California does not need to turn people over to ICE. No locality in the state of California needs to work with ICE. They don't have to do it. They don't have to do it. Now, mind you, if someone's committed a violent crime, I have no problem handing them over to ICE. was a really bad violent crime. I'm okay with that. Deport away. But I'm not okay with someone steals a Mountain Dew from a 7-Eleven and they get deported. I'm not okay with that. That just doesn't work for me. So I'm glad to live in a state that doesn't do the federal government's work for it, because I don't want to live in, the state of ice. So it's amazing because these are really conservative decisions written by Sandra Day O'Connor and Antonin Scalia. And Scalia, like, come on, let's face it, no leftist tears were shed. You know what I'm saying? Pour one for my homie? No, maybe not. So these are like solid conservative Supreme Court opinions that mean there's no fucking way they can do anything about sanctuary cities, and I'm happy, and that's good news for a lot of people. So that just came to me while I was reading and looking at things, and I thought I would mention it tonight. Anyway, there's 6 of you out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and share if you know any stoners who like politics. Come back and join us every night at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern. I thought I could hold it in all the way there, but apparently not.